friends, and welcome back to the Brockopp side, and well, welcome to the first episode of a new show I like to call Nickstalgia. Yeah, so this is a show I've been trying to get off the ground for a couple of years now, and just whenever I would try to do it in the past, it's never truly worked out quite as well as I wanted it to, so I figured this year, 2020, was the year I was finally gonna get this shit off the ground, and, well, here we are. So I think some of you know this by now, but I was very much a Nickelodeon kid growing up, watching shows like SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Drake and Josh, Danny Phantom, things like that. And those shows and those characters that have stuck with me all throughout my entire life, so I have a lot of memories of watching those shows and movies and video games and stuff. So I just wanted to make a series where I just kind of sit here, talk about those, what they mean to me, how well they hold up years later, and well, that's what we're doing today. And if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you live talking by movies as well as, Nickelodeon-based content. So I decided for the very first episode of Nickstalgia, I figured we had to do something a little extra special than just simply talking about, a video game or a movie or something like that. So last week I was in Minneapolis, the land of really cold winters, and I knew that there was one place I definitely had to go while I was there, and that would be Nickelodeon Universe. So for those of you that don't know, Nickelodeon Universe is this indoor theme park inside the Mall of America in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's also one that just recently opened up, I believe, in New Jersey, but I didn't go to that one, and well, I'm not gonna go all the way to New Jersey just for one little theme park, but basically this park is centered completely around Nickelodeon characters, both classic and newer ones. It's a really fun time, and I've been there a few times. My first time going there was about roughly 5 years ago, and when I first went there, I was just totally overwhelmed with nostalgia right off the bat, just seeing, these rides based on SpongeBob and Dora, Blue's Clues, and all these other shows. It was kind of like achieving childhood nirvana in a way, because it just made me feel like a small child again watching all these shows on TV and my old 4x3 bulky ass television in the living room. I kind of wish I could have gone there when I was like a small child, but there's just something about being able to go there when you're my age, being an adult, being tall enough to go on all the rides and being able to experience it as a whole, as an adult who grew up on all these shows and characters. It was a blast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an overview of the park as a whole, then I'm going to go into detail on some of the individual rides, and then just wrap it all up with some overview and some final thoughts on it. And yeah, maybe by the end of this video you might want to go check this place out for yourself, which I think you should. But anyway, let's get into it. So I think the first big thing to mention about the park is the fact that it's completely indoors because, it is inside a gigantic mall after all. So it's not like a giant Disneyland or Universal Studios sized park. It's a lot smaller, but it works. And also the fact you have to deal with the hot sun or crazy weather conditions, so it's open all year round, which is good considering it is in Minnesota where the outdoor theme parks are going to be completely closed in the wintertime, so you would go in the middle of winter and still enjoy yourself, so that's pretty sweet. There are also statues of various characters like Dora the Explorer, Diego the Ninja Turtle scattered around the park, which was really, really cool. They also have character meet and greets throughout the day as well, which unfortunately when I was there, I wasn't there at a time when certain characters were coming out, so unfortunately didn't get to take my picture with SpongeBob or Donatello or anything like that, so that's kind of a bummer, but oh well. And I think one of the absolute best things about the park is the fact that there are basically 0 lines for every ride, and if there is a line, it's going to be like incredibly short, so you're guaranteed to be on the next wave of riders. And I was just there last week, so I don't know if I was in like some sort of slower season for the park, but I've also been there in like the middle of summer as well, and even then the lines weren't bad at all, so you don't have to worry about major 2-hour wait lines or getting fast passes or anything like that because the lines move very quickly. You could go on them multiple times, and you can basically go through every single ride very quickly, so you have time to go on all of them over and over again, so it really gives you the chance to maximize your time at the park, which is really good, especially for a major theme park, because one of the biggest problems with theme parks are long lines. This one does not have that issue. And also the fact that getting into the park itself is rather inexpensive. You can get like various point levels for like certain amounts of rides here and there, which I think is stupid because you can just get an all-day unlimited wristband like this, and after taxes it comes out to like $40, which is pretty inexpensive if I do say so myself, although that wristband won't get you into absolutely everything. It'll get you on all the rides as many times as you want, which is cool, but there are some attractions there that do cost extra, like this whole Flying Dutchman themed obstacle course and zip line, which I've done the zip line before. A lot of fun. I didn't do it this last time I was there because, well, you know, I got bills to pay. And of course it is a theme park, so there are going to be gift shops, but there's just something so fun about going into a gift shop full of nothing but Nickelodeon merch. You know, they got stuff for newer shows like Paw Patrol, and they've got stuff for more nostalgic shows like Rugrats, Avatar, which is just really, really cool. I think there's a really good balance between older shows and newer shows being represented in the park, because all the rides are a mixture of classic shows that I grew up on, and a couple of newer ones, you know, people significantly younger than me are growing up on, so I think that's a good way of having it appeal to people, you know, my age and people younger than me, so you know, it's something that the whole family could enjoy. So yeah, that's basically the general overview of the park itself. So now let's go into detail about some of the individual rides I've got there. So first off, there are 2 rides based on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2012 show, not the newest one, which is kind of funny, but still, both rides are pretty cool. So the first one is Shredder's Mutant Mayhem. Basically, you get strapped inside this big metal pendulum that just keeps swinging and swinging, getting higher and higher with every individual swing, and also the individual cars on the pendulum, those spin themselves as well, so a lot of movements, a lot of fun, lots of adrenaline rushing, and it looks even cooler at night because the whole thing gets lit up with like green and purple LED lights and stuff. It kind of reminds me of the Riddler's lair in Batman Forever. So the other one is TMNT Shell Shock. So this one's obviously Ninja Turtles themed, so you get strapped inside this turtle shell contraption thing, and this one kind of just goes around in a circle a few times, but you got these wings attached to the side of you that you can use to kind of tilt back and forth with the motion of the ride, which is pretty cool. So it's also a lot of fun. But what I do really like about these 2 Ninja Turtle rides is that they do a good job with the atmosphere of these 2 rides, with what little they can do, because, you know, it's not going to be anything like Disneyland where you're just going, you know, straight into a planet from Star Wars or anything, but just a little bit they can do with what they've got. I think it's really cool because you do feel like you're trading in the sewers with Master Splinter, or you're in Shredder's lair, which is really, really cool. So I really do like that attention to detail and just the atmosphere, feeling like you're sucked inside these 2 shows for a couple minute rides here and there. Alright, so now we're getting into one of my favorite rides in the whole park, which is Fairly Odd Coaster, obviously based on the Fairly Odd Parents. You know, it's a pretty basic roller coaster with some twists and turns and things like that, but the car you're in also spins around while the whole thing's going, just adds a whole nother level of fun to it. And I just honestly love the Fairly Odd Parents theming to it, because Fairly Odd Parents is one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows of all time, so getting to go on a fun little, you know, more kid-friendly roller coaster, but getting some nostalgia feels in there as well, it's just a perfect combination of things. And then we've got Avatar Airbender. This one's kind of like a skateboard ramp of sorts, where the car is just kind of swinging up to each end like that, which is still fun, but then also the car itself spins. Yeah, a lot of the rides in this place spin, so beware of that. And then we've got one of the biggest rides in the whole park, which is SpongeBob Rock Bottom Plunge. So on the way in, you see this giant statue of SpongeBob and Patrick just crashing into rock bottom, which just gets the nostalgia feels going of memories of watching that episode where they go to rock bottom. So then once you get strapped into the ride, it goes up at this near 90-degree angle, and then you just go straight down, which is really cool, because that's probably exactly how going to rock bottom would feel like. But even today, I still don't like really big drops at roller coasters, just because I don't like my insides, how they feel when they go down those big drops like that. But after that, it's lots of fun twists and turns and loop-de-loops, and a camera where you can make some hilarious poses and stuff when it takes your picture. It's a lot of fun. And also, the fact that the ride doesn't frickin' spin is a bonus. Now, the last time I was at Nickelodeon Universe, not this previous time, but the one before that, they had this really cool Jimmy Neutron ride where, you know, it's a very basic kid-friendly ride where you sit inside one of Jimmy Neutron's rockets, and, you know, it spins around a little bit, goes up and down some. You know, very simple, but, you know, it really got my nostalgia feels going, so I was really looking forward to going on that ride again. But then I got there and saw that it was replaced by a Paw Patrol ride. So, you know, I just didn't go on it out of simple protest, because, you know, How could I do my man Jimmy like that? That's not fair. So those are basically all the big boy rides Nickelodeon Universe has to offer, except for this one log ride and a Pepsi-themed roller coaster, which were both sadly closed when I was there, so I didn't get to go on either of those, which was a serious bummer. And there's also this ride called Brain Surge, where basically you're in this rotating car that goes around in a circle, and then you can, spin and flip and do all this crazy stuff. That was open, but I did not go on that because this particular trip to Nickelodeon Universe has shown that I think I've got some serious limits when it comes to rides that spin. But of course there are plenty of little kid rides, designed for people significantly tinier than myself, but still tall people can go on them as well, so I did go on a couple of those just for the fun of it. One of those being Blue's Skidoo. Very simple, straightforward ride. Basically, you just ride on either blue or magenta, goes around a circle, there's one button where you can make the car go up and down, one that can play music. It's definitely designed for somebody a lot smaller and younger for myself, but come on. I love Blue's Clues, so of course, if they're not going to stop me from going on it, I'm going to go on it. And then I also went on Back of the Barnyard Hayride, which once again, very little child-based ride where you just go on this little cart, it goes around in a little circular track a few times, but it was the theming of Barnyard that got me on the ride, so, it was kind of fun because they have these little cutouts, like wooden cutouts of the characters like Otis and Pig and things like that. That was cool, but I couldn't help but feel like they could have put in a few more Barnyard characters in there, like, how about Freddy or Pip or, those two female cows whose names are escaping me right now. And I feel like I probably should have looked them up before I started filming this video, but I didn't. There were a few rides I just simply could not get on because they were either way too kiddie and watered down, it's been kind of ridiculous going on those rides by myself, or I was just too tall to get on some of them. Yeah, there are some rides that there's actually a height maximum to them that you have to be no more than a certain height to get on. But overall, I absolutely love this theme park just based on the Nickelodeon theming alone, getting to go on all these rides based on like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents and going through the gift shop with all this Nickelodeon merch. It just brings me right back to my childhood and makes me feel like a kid again. My only big problem with this park is something I didn't even discover until my last trip here, the one I just went on, and that's the fact there's just too many rides that spin, just too many that just spin around and around and around and around and around and around. Now, granted, that's not something that's going to bother everybody, so it's just kind of a personal issue with me. But what really sucks is the fact that those rides never bothered me previously, but this time around I got off all of them, and then I had this horrible splitting headache that lasted well into the next day, so I felt really bad about that. So I guess I've just reached a point in my life where I can just only handle so many roller coasters of that variety. I wasn't expecting to face my own mortality this soon in life. So, those are my thoughts on Nickelodeon Universe, and again, if you haven't, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you live talking by Nickelodeon. But anyway, so, that concludes the first episode of Nickstalgia. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, hoping to do at least one of these videos every month. But anyway, so, if you guys have been to Nickelodeon Universe or you plan to go at some point, then type that down below, and we'll see you on the Brockopp side.